Hey guys, before we get into this show, I just launched a brand new podcast called The Joe Camo Show, where I've had amazing interviews with guys like Ken Shamrock. Vegas Dave was on the show most recently. A lot of exciting guests and a lot of exciting insight, whether you were talking sports cards, and everything in regards to sports. I even had Buzz on from Home Alone talking about movies. So there's a ton of exciting content. Head on over to Spotify and look up Joe Camo. That's JoeKamo show. I've also linked it below here on YouTube. I'm going to be doing exclusive content for that show, interviews, the Joe Camo show. Head on over there, guys. Subscribe right now. And I'm telling you guys, you will not be disappointed. Today, we're talking about the top 5 sleepers for fantasy football 2020 at the quarterback position. We're going to be deep diving, having a discussion about quarterbacks going into 2021 fantasy football. Excited to get in this show. Go subscribe to the Joe Camo show as well. Now, let's talk quarterback sleepers.
Taking off the gloves, I've had enough. It's in my blood. I was born for this.
Hey guys, welcome to the show. We're talking quarterback sleepers. I'm excited to dive in regards to quarterback talk because I've always done really well with my quarterbacks for fantasy football leagues, and I want you guys to do well as well at this position because the quarterback is extremely valuable. They anchor your team, okay? Without having a good quarterback, I think everything kind of falls apart. You need to get that good quarterback every single year. And this is what I talk about in the 16-round draft. So make sure you get the right quarterback, the right sleeper every single year. I was the guy that got Mahomes in the 10th round the year he broke out. Loved him. I was the one that got Ryan Tannehill last year for super dirt cheap as a value play, as a backup quarterback with major upside. I'm always good with quarterbacks. I'm good with every position, but you got to get the quarterback right. Okay, that's very important. So the 16-round draft, which you guys, you can get it below. Pre-order for the lowest price of the season. If you pre-order now, you get a chance to Zoom call with Chris CG2K Johnson on February 9th, the day after the Super Bowl. I will be doing a draw for that Zoom call, an actual talk with future Hall of Famer Chris Johnson or I think I'm going to do it after the Super Bowl. We'll do it after the Super Bowl, the draw, but the call will be February 9th. Pre-order 16-round drafts, which is at thefantasyfootballcouncil.com or below here on YouTube. All right, so let's talk about the 5 quarterback sleepers, early quarterback sleepers, I would say, and I got to mention it. Now, I want to talk about also the rankings because it really pisses me off, and it's got to come to a point now, where the mainstream has to go, okay? They're done. I am the golden standard for fantasy football analysis. Things have to change this year. And I don't mean this in an arrogant way. I mean this to help you understand my thought process here, okay? Let's be honest. Now it's out in the open, okay? The exposure is there. You know that the mainstream analysts take the last year's top finishers and they say, hey, draft them again in that order, okay? Let me give you a couple of prime examples from last year. Michael Thomas, a top producer in fantasy at wide receiver. What did they do? They slapped him over and made him a top fantasy football wide receiver and told you to draft him in the first 5 picks. Why did they do that? Let me tell you why I did that. Because he was a top point getter. And now they're going to be off of him. They're not going to say draft him in the first 5 picks. Why? Because he got injured, he was banged up, and maybe Drew Brees is leaving. It doesn't matter because he didn't finish last year. But the point I'm trying to make is they literally take the last year's top finishers and they paste them over. I'll give you an example. I'm looking at the Concheapsis rankings right now. Quarterback, since we're talking quarterback, and Ryan Tannehill is top 10. Why is Ryan Tannehill top 10? You guys didn't believe in him. He was outside of your top 15 last year, yet now you've got him in the top 10 after the counselor was saying that he would have crushed it. Joe, how did you know Ryan Tannehill was going to be in the top 10? Tell me how you knew that. Well, if you look at the season before this past season, right? If you're looking at 2019, you look at Tannehill. He missed, I think, the first 6 games. But if you look at his numbers, right, and you add the first 6 games to that, he would have finished as the top 3 quarterback right behind Dak in 2019. Nobody talked about that. They just looked at him as he finished 17th. Let's paste him over. Let's say he's going to finish there again, okay? I still think a lot of people are going to sleep on Tannehill this year. I do, even though they can Concheapsis. I can't even say it anymore. Concheapsis are going to have him top 10. I still think a lot of people are going to sleep on Tannehill. But am I going to want to pay an earlier draft pick on him? Probably yes, because I'll tell you why. With quarterback, I like to anchor my team. Listen carefully. This is very important. I like to anchor my team with an ace quarterback in all my drafts. So this year I had Russell Wilson in the 5th round. Listen, hear me out. Russell Wilson and Matt Ryan were kind of the guys I was going for in the 5th round, okay? Even Josh Allen. Josh Allen's another guy I owned, right? Got him for value, 5th, 6th round, and I backed him up with Tannehill. So I made sure I had the right quarterbacks. I did not invest in Lamar Jackson in Lamar Jackson in the second round. I told you Lamar Jackson will decline. I told you running quarterbacks get hurt. He got hurt in the playoffs this past season, okay? So I'm really concerned about him. You can't just run that much, put up that many fantasy points, and continue to think that that's going to keep going on upwards trend. We knew a decline was happening. I wasn't going to draft this guy in the second round. So again, you got to get the right value. You got to know when to hold him, know when to fold him, but you still got to anchor yourself with a good quarterback. Now, all the good quarterbacks be coming off early because all the good quarterbacks that were valued last year in the 5th round have really performed well this year. We had Josh Allen finish on top, Aaron Rodgers, Kyler Murray, Pat Mahomes, Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson, Tannehill, all finished really well this year. These guys were value. Like Rodgers was value last year. Kyler Murray was value. Pat Mahomes was second round, a little expensive. Josh Allen was value. Now the mainstream catch up. So Joe, can you tell me who the value is this year? It's still a little bit early. We're waiting for the draft, but I will tell you that I still think people are going to sleep on my first sleeper. So we're going to do 5 quarterback sleepers here. I still think people are going to sleep on Ryan Tannehill. I think he's going to be the guy that you're going to get as a value that has that top 3 upside, okay? So again, I'm seeing the Chiefs has got him at 10. That tells me that I could probably get him after the 4th round. So my first sleeper is Ryan Tannehill. Again, a lot of people are going to want to go for Josh Allen in the 2nd round now. This is what happens, right? Josh Allen still can perform second round. I love Josh Allen. This is the guy that I was promoting when everybody was on Mayfield. I had Josh Allen on my team when everybody had Mayfield ahead of him. Can you believe that? Can you also believe that the mainstream consensus actually had Damian Williams? Believe it or not, true story. Damian Williams was ranked ahead of Derrick Henry the year I told you to draft Derrick Henry, and he broke out. True story. True story. They had Damian Williams, the running back that had years to wow us. We're not wowed. They had him ahead of Derrick Henry. This is how crazy these people are. They're literally copying and pasting. If the person had a good year last year, they'll tell you that they're going to have a good year this year in the exact same order they had it. This has to end. Okay, the reign of the mainstream is going to go down this year. I will single-handedly dismantle the mainstream confusions by sharing the truth that is you cannot copy and paste rankings and win your leagues, okay? So my first sleeper is Ryan Tannehill. And again, he's not really a sleeper because now the mainstream have caught on, but he's a sleeper enough that you can get him for a value that you don't have to invest a 2nd round pick. Does that make sense? And you can still get a good quarterback. You got to anchor your team with an ace quarterback. I cannot implore you enough. Ryan Tannehill is going to be the guy, but let's talk about a guy that could be another sleeper. Justin Herbert, now he finished 9th. Okay, now the Chiefs are going to have him in and around 9 again. Okay, I still think he's going to be that value play that could be a top 3 wide receiver, top 3 quarterback. A guy that you can get as a value in the 5th round. Okay, they're going to sleep on him in the first couple rounds because, again, it's going to be your Aaron Rodgers, it's going to be your Josh Allen, it's going to be your Kyler Murray, it's going to be guys like that. Now, I think Lamar Jackson slips on top. Pat Mahomes, obviously, those guys are going to be on top as well. But I really think, Justin Herbert being his 2nd year, he had really good numbers, did really well, 31 touchdowns to 10 interceptions. I think he only gets better. Now he's going in as a starter. We don't know. Right, 2nd year is always a big question mark. He's going to be a bit of a gamble, but I like the upside on this gamble. Yes, he's going to be rated in the top 10, but I still think he's going to be a sleeper in regards to, compared to Josh Allen, Pat Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Aaron Rodgers, all those guys. I think people are going to be sleepers. So listen carefully. Yes, he's top 10. Joe, how are you calling him a sleeper? Because you can still load up on those running backs early. Listen, think outside the box and get yourself maybe a Herbert or a Tannehill, right? Does that make sense? So people are going to be sleeping on him in the first 4 rounds. Then you can still get that, anchor your team with a guy that could be finished top 3, top 4, top 5, but you're getting him for a value. So yes, technically there's some sleeping going on. Do you understand? Think. Okay, Herbert, Ryan, we talked about him. Another sleeper, although I see him already, I'm looking at the Chiefs' rankings, he is in the top 10. He's sitting at like 6 or 7. But I still think your friends, your league mates are going to be sleeping on this guy. Dak Prescott coming off an injury. Dak Prescott, listen, this guy was killing it, the first 5 weeks. He got hurt, I believe, in week 5. He was doing well. I'm going to pull up his numbers right here, right now, okay? Now, if you look at it, week 1, 17 points, not bad. 39 points week 2, 27 week 3, 37 week 4, and then he got hurt, I believe, week 5. 37 points in week 4. This guy was on pace to be a top 3 quarterback yet again. So, Dak Prescott, again, top 10. Joe, how is he a sleeper? I think your league mates are going to sleep on him because of the recency bias. They're going to look and say, oh, he finished 31st amongst quarterbacks. Joe, he was hurt. I'm a little suspect about him. I think Dak Prescott comes back strong this year. And again, a guy you can get. You don't have to pay a 2nd or 3rd round pick. You could probably get him. Again, it's very early. We're talking January here. We got to see how the mock drafts end up. He might be going second round. I don't know. And again, he's top 10. The mainstream know, right? Because he was a top 10 producer the year before he got hurt. So they kind of plug him in there. But I still think a lot of people will sleep on him because they won't remember. They won't remember. They're going to think, hey, maybe this guy, he's probably going to do well. We're not sure. He's hurt. So they're just going to be a little hesitant on drafting him. So that is why I'm going to call him a sleeper. I think I'm going to consider drafting him. I got to see where he falls on the ADP, but that's another sleeper. Now let's get into some deeper sleepers here. Deeper sleepers. With quarterbacks, I don't really mess around. I just want those quarterbacks that I know are going to perform. Now looking at guys here, Mitch Trubisky, I don't think he's returning with the Bears. We don't know. Gardner Minshew doesn't really excite me. Joe Burrow could be one as well. Daniel Jones didn't really wow me, but it depends on what options they get. Do they get more wide receiver options? I don't know who these quarterbacks are going to see. I'm going to give you two more sleepers here. But again, some of the guys I mentioned could be like the Minshews. Again, we're going to do more sleepers. Subscribe to the channel. Leave a thumbs up. We're going to dive in. But I got two more here. Number one is Jalen Hurts. I'm a little suspect about Jalen Hurts. He finished 35th amongst quarterbacks, but I'm thinking about as a backup with major upside if he gets a start. Now, my concern is Carson Wentz. There is rumors and buzz saying that he might still be the starter there in Philly. They may not want to get rid of him, but I still think Jalen Hurts is the guy. If you look at his stats, week 14, when he really started going, 17 completions on 30 attempts, 19 points, 37 points the week in 15, 18 points and 16 points week 16, 17, right? 16 points in week 17. So I'm seeing a trend that he's relatively consistent. In week 15, he threw 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Week 16, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. And then week 17, didn't throw a touchdown, okay? But I'm seeing there is some upside. Now, he did have 3 rushing touchdowns in those 4 games from week 14 to 17, which looks promising that he can, run the ball and get some touchdowns, get some extra points there on his feet. So Jalen Hurts, I think, is a guy that a lot of people will sleep on, but I want to make sure that he does secure that starting job. He is the guy in Philly. I also got to take a look at his receiving options. I'd like to get some better receivers on that team so that I can feel warm and fuzzy that, he's got some good people to throw to, because again, I need to see that. I need to feel warm and fuzzy with the wide receiver core there in Philly. And Jalen Hurts, again, a guy that everybody will be sleeping on because he didn't finish on top, right? People will be like, well, I'm not going to draft him. But there is some upside with this young guy. There really is, and that's something I really want to see. Again, Greg Ward, just not exciting for me. Travis Fulgham, do they have enough to entice me to want him? I think we need to see a little more talent at wide receiver. Now, he's got good tight ends, but I just need to see more, okay? So that's very important to me. Now, the next guy I'm going to talk about has a sleeper here, and it's, again, I am a little hesitant on him this year because he did bad last year. He finished 12th amongst quarterbacks, but had one of the worst years of his life. Matt Ryan is the guy I'm talking about, okay? So I'm looking at his points on a game-per-game basis. He had a couple duds here. I mean, week 5, he had 6 points. Week 11, he had 5 points. Week 14, he had 7 points. Now, other games, he was safe and steady throughout the year, but understand Julio Jones was banged up for most of the season. So that really took a toll on Matt Ryan. The O-line wasn't performing. He did bad overall. Still managed to get 26 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Not great, not a good ratio there. 4,500 yards. He always throws for a lot of yards. So that puts him 4th amongst passing yards. I still think Matt Ryan is a guy that is consistent, safe, week in, week out. It might be a redemption year. I got to take a look at what happens there in regards to any type of O-line help. Got to take a look at what their defense does. They got to make some defensive moves to keep this guy in the game. I mean, they lost some really close games and they gave up some good leads. So Matt Ryan's a guy. I still think people are going to be sleeping. I'm going to take a look at the Consheeps' rankings right now. He's ranked 13th. Oh, that's not ironic. He finished 12th. They got him ranked 13th. It's so funny because if he comes out and has this breakout year and not a breakout year, I shouldn't say that, has a big year again, he's going to be right back in the top 5. And that's what bothers me. So I'm thinking of him as a hidden gem that I can get for super good value. I can still, based on the way things are sitting, probably secure myself a Tannehill rounds 4, 5, 6 or Herbert, and maybe secure myself with Matt Ryan as a backup. That's what I'm thinking, right? I think a lot of people will sleep on this guy, and I still think he's going to come back in a top 10 quarterback form in regards to fantasy and really produce for you, okay? So again, hopefully this discussion is helping you guys wake up and realize that the way things are done are terrible. Like the way the mainstream sheeps are doing things are terrible. So I'm going to go, and again, with quarterback, it's one of those positions that isn't as volatile as let's say a running back or wide receiver. You get like what you see is kind of what you get for the most part. There is some variance. And again, some of these sheep just jump on that hottest trend like they did with Baker Mayfield a couple of years ago. Baker Mayfield this last year finishing 17th amongst quarterbacks, okay? And again, there was that discussion. Baker Mayfield's better than Josh Allen, they said. It's BS. Okay, you gotta look at the situation. You gotta look at the talent, right? You don't just ride the tree. Oh well, Odell Beckham round 1, 3 years in a row, and round 4 the year after, right? Or round 3. Actually, last year they had Odell round 3. He busted yet again. 4 years in a row. Odell, they told you draft him in the first round, and they told you draft him in the third round last year. Didn't do well, guys, because again they overinflate. They go for the popular train, right? The recency bias train. And that is why the mainstream is going down this year. I'm going to tear them a new one this year. I'm telling you guys, the Council Nation is stronger than ever. We're going to stand strong. Make sure you guys subscribe and follow the Joe Comeau Show as well. And follow on Insta for my story modes and my crazy antics there. Having a lot of fun on Instagram, okay? A lot of people ask me, Joe, why do you talk like that? Why do you scream on camera? Hey, man, it's just passion. It's excitement. Sometimes it's a little bit of trolling. I get it. But, hey, whatever, man. Gets attention. I enjoy doing it. I don't really mean to do it for attention. I just really just want to talk about that topic. But hey, you know, some people take it personally, like Joe's such an ass. Like, how could he say that? How could you say that about my player? Just speaking facts, man. Speaking facts. So, you know, I mean, I'm not everybody's counselor, but that's okay. I don't want the sheep following my channel. I don't want the trolls following my channel. Right? I'm here to entertain the people that want to be entertained, the people that actually want to win their leagues, right? That's what I want to do. I want to help people genuinely win their leagues, not for the cookie cutter advice, analysis, and fantasy football entertainment. I mean, well, how boring would it be if I just sat there and just did rankings all day? You know, it's crazy. So I keep it a little bit spicy for you guys, all right? Make sure you guys subscribe, leave a thumbs up, and of course, leave your top 5 sleepers below. Let me know. Again, some of these guys like Sam Darnold, Mitch Trubisky, maybe Trevor Lawrence could be a sleeper there as well. I don't know, Bridgewater, Tua, maybe. There's so many guys that I still need to lay out and see how the depth charts fall and what they do on their offenses for me to consider them sleepers. And we'll do that. We'll do deep sleeper episodes. We'll do a ton of other stuff, okay? Subscribe, leave a thumbs up, and I will see you guys in the next video. Go follow the Joe Comeau Show.